Oh, yeah. All right, hey everyone. It's great to see you again. Andy here, back to remind you that in order to get all the girls, or boys, you gotta work on yourself. That's why with my new protein powder sponsorship, you can get jacked, like me. Okay, well, not quite. But he's not entirely wrong. Hi, everyone. Before we begin, I gotta be honest with you about one thing. My name isn't Andy. It's Anderson, and I want to talk to you about a huge problem that's facing young people today. Scenes like the one you saw just now are happening all over the internet. Now, while Andy here is right to emphasize that self-improvement is crucial, I think he's missing the point. Self-improvement is the driving force behind our lives. It's a blanket term that describes every way we grow both physically and mentally. Without self-improvement, we would never become who we are today. However, it can often be a dangerous path to walk. But hey, you know what? Let's start with the positives, right? Exercise is the first obvious answer. It makes you healthier, happier, and, hey, most importantly, look good. Countless organizations like the CDC, Harvard Health, and the American Heart Association all say that exercise helps you live a longer life, reduce the risk of disease infections and common cancers, and even help alleviate depression and boost your mood. But that's not it. There's also the philosophical and moral aspect. By expanding out your perspective and observing the different viewpoints of those around you, you continuously refine your viewpoints with a new wealth of knowledge at your disposal. You create an understanding of the world that is more informed and educated than before, so that you can tackle the problems that you will face later in life. So, hey, now you might be asking, what's so bad about this self-improvement thing, right? I mean, it could not, with all these benefits, what could possibly drag it down to a dangerous path to walk? Well, there's another side to self-improvement that doesn't actually have anything to do with self-improvement itself. More specifically, it's the context in which self-improvement is found in our culture today. Now, as much as I would like to move on and forget about my performance at the beginning forever, I think it's important to look back and think about what its specific purpose and aspects were. I mean, sure, it's got messages about fitness and self-improvement, but what was it really? A promotion. It was there almost purely to promote whatever random protein powder or supplement or product that was being sold to the audience. Unfortunately, this is the context that a concerning amount of self-improvement content is found under on platforms today. Packaged as self-improvement content, but doubling as a method to sell products and push political or religious agendas. And it gets worse. Here's the real killer. It comes from a good place. It starts out with something as simple as wanting to be healthy. At first, the extremism isn't even noticeable, but it is slow, it is gradual, and before you ever even realize what's happened, you find yourself ranting at an intersection about why the moon landings were faked and were ruled by a secret cabal of lizard people. Now, these claims may seem outlandish, but as a society, we shouldn't be surprised by this. With just how easy it is to become a member of a radicalized group through such a virtuous process as self-improvement, it's no wonder that extremists are so prevalent in our society today. These young men, who are merely just unfortunate, unwitting followers being led along by the piper's flute. And thus, we come to the ones perpetrating this issue. These people, masquerading as mentors, are in reality hunters in a field of unwitting prey. They have cultivated their political and commercial agendas under the guise of self-improvement, breeding a new generation of extremist young men. In fact, I, a 16-year-old who is clearly the foremost expert on life advice, I'm not the only one who has come to this conclusion. Comedians who are ever so aware of the cultural context, like Ronnie Chang, have also come to this same conclusion. In his comedy show, Ronnie talks about the tragedy of extremism among young men. He uses the hypothetical of how men simply looking to get fit with kettlebell swinging guy on YouTube go from swinging a kettlebell to political extremism over the course of merely a few weeks. This is an issue recognized by concerned parents, comedians, and unfortunately, corrupt self-improvement influencers all around the world. Bummer, huh? So, why dwell on this when we can talk about what you can do to combat this? What I found is that in order to ensure the best chance that you don't fall into extremism, it comes down to two factors: certainty and adaptability. As much as it may seem in today's cultural context, self-improvement itself isn't a scam to mislead young men into extremism. In fact, the idea behind self-improvement is, in reality, quite a noble one. So how do we reconcile this conflict of interest? Let's start with certainty. What I mean when I say this is that you need to know and be certain in your goals and definitions. You need to have specific, clear, and achievable goals that you can point to for guidance. When you know what you're working towards, you know what to look out for. By having this point of reference, you can take a step back and observe the path that you're taking and to see if it's really leading you to your original destination. But goals aren't the only thing you need to be certain in. Definitions are equally as important. This leads me to my next point about certainty and adaptability. You need to understand the real meaning of self-improvement. Now, to truly understand the meaning of self-improvement, you have to understand a few simple truths. There is no improvement without change, no change without an open mind, and no open minds without skepticism. Nothing hinders the reception of new thoughts like the declaration that our old ones are final and conclusive. To improve is to be receptive and to new ideas and perspectives, but also to be critical. Without logic, the facade of an open mind is merely left to rot and hollow as blind faith, a cheap substitute for true self-improvement. To improve is to learn, and where else to look but the world around you? By taking in information through a critical lens, that is when you will finally begin to improve yourself. So, as a final note, even though much of the landscape surrounding self-improvement is hostile in today's environment, often cultivating a misleading context of extremism, there is always something that you yourself can do to prevent this from happening. So next time you go out and decide to work on yourself a little bit, be certain, be skeptical, be adaptable. And hopefully, you'll find that it makes everything that much easier. As for me, when I get home, I think I'm going to work on my kettlebell swings. Thank you very much.